Bottoms Kevin Durant was on the show, and now Thomas Dimitroff is here, former GM of the Atlanta Falcons, two-time NFL Executive of the Year, president of football ops at Sumer Sports, which is crushing. You've got the Sumer Sports show going on. Thomas, when I say trade deadline, does it give you goosebumps still? What does it do?
Well, it gives me goosebumps, but we never used to be this active. I mean, it is a younger GM group, man. They're moving, they're aggressive. I love it. I think it's good for the league. What
is the move that you saw that you thought that's going to make a huge impact down the stretch?
Look, I think it's Adam Peters and Dan Quinn with Lattimore. I think it's it's all about not only the here and now. I love that they're believing that they have so much momentum right now. They're moving in the right direction. Yes, of course they're thinking about next year. I get it, but it is about here and now. And I know that Dan Campbell made that comment about they can beat anyone. Not putting quotes in Dan Quinn's mouth, but I'm sure deep down he's saying we can go toe-to-toe with anyone. Let's add to our defense with this move and make it happen.
The way that Hamilton was looking at it was you always have trouble with these Eagles receivers. You've got to get past them. Is that true? Do you ever make a move literally to attack a division rival and what gets you? Is it ever that nitty-gritty, or do you sort of look at it more holistically?
No, I think you look at it holistically, but deep down it's all about the division, and there's no question that's the drive. So Hamilton's right on the money there. They go in, they play a team like Philly again down the stretch. It's going to be tough, right? And they have to be ready to do it. And this is a perfect example of them. Again, this is Dan Quinn through and through in my mind. Let's take it on head on, and I just love it. I think it's really ideal.
Is he going to make a big impact in your eyes?
Lattimore?
Yeah.
Yeah, no question he will. I mean, they need that. They're in a spot right now where, 20th in EPA defense, right? Some of the elements of success rate, which they are up to this point, fourth challenged in the league, fourth worst in the league. This is a legitimate move for them to bring that defense together, have Joe Witt as a D coordinator continue to pull things together and get the right personnel there. And then they pair it with their, of course, excelling offense. And I think it helps them drastically.
Thomas, I never know what the numbers really are, but I'm looking at the Saints side of things. ESPN was coughing out like 90 million, which I think is insane. But everything I'm seeing, the numbers we're crunching over here, they're projected to be almost 62 million over the cap next season. So let's say it's somewhere between 62 and 90, both bad. How big of a headache is this for Mickey Loomis? How does he attack that?
Look, I think Mickey's one of the very smartest in the league. I've said this to you time and again. I think he knows what he's doing. He has an approach sometimes that might be more polarizing for people out there thinking that they keep pushing money out. He knows what he's doing. I think it's a cash situation that they're benefiting from. They're also benefiting, of course, Kay, from the picks that they're acquiring here. I think they're taking a deep breath now. They know they look, and I've said this time and again as well. Jeff Ireland, one of the best personnel men there. They know what they're doing. It is a thoughtful organization. This is the right time after the recent firing of DA there, and I think this is a time for them to step back and be the sellers, of course, that they were. I like the move by Mickey.
Let's talk about the move by the Lions. This is a Super Bowl contender. It's like their NFC and everybody else's, it looks like, at least through these 9 weeks. We both kind of wanted the bigger swing. Like, let's get Max. Let's get Max over there after the Aiden Hutchinson injury. I know you sort of felt that way. A lot of fans did. Are we in on Za'Darius Smith? Seems like a bit of a lower risk, maybe, move. Do they need it? Does it move the needle? What are your thoughts?
It's a great point. Of course, Max Crosby. And then next, Trey Hendrickson. Could they get one of these two that would just bring them to a great spot? But both of those guys are pillar guys and pillar positions for the respective organizations. We knew that it was, even the people that were talking about Cincinnati making that move, we knew it wasn't going to happen, right? They're way too important to their organization, even next year. So let's go to Za'Darius. I mean, Za'Darius, 30-plus years old, right? He's 6+ sacks right now. He will move the needle for them. I think it was a good move for them. I think there was a settling element to it as well to make sure that the first and foremost, the team knows that they're doing what they needed to do to continue to stay in line. Hopefully, if they get all the way to the Super Bowl, I think there's been discussions that Aiden would be able to come back. So continue to pull that together. I think it's important. I think it's important for the fan base to know that they're doing whatever they need to do. I love when Brad Holmes makes moves like this. I love Brad Holmes as an executive as well. And I think he has really well thought out approaches here. The other thing I would say is, like, look, he's not the end all be all. I think the fan base and the people need to know that you're not expecting 16 sacks out of him, right? You're expecting a good contribution. And the last thing I'll say is they have one of the very best coordinators in a long time who's not going to be there next year. They need to ride this train hard right now while they can. I think making this move showed everyone we are making a massive push down the stretch here. We'll deal with losing our offensive coordinator next year. Let's thrive here at all levels.
Three-time Pro Bowler, double-digit sacks, 3 of his last 4 healthy years. Hopefully he can do that, and it might be that little. We've seen this through the years, like you add the Tyrann Mathieu, you add the Von Miller, you add this defensive piece at a veteran position, the 30-plus sort of vibe that really can make the difference in a big game in winter to get to or win a Super Bowl. It's just a thing. It's happened a lot.
That idea of him going in there as well, Ken, you know this. He's had some quotes out there about Green Bay not treating him the way that he wanted to be treated back in the day. To be in that crazy, crazy division right now, I think it'll be a fiery situation down the stretch with them as well.
You really think about all these things. So when you're a GM and you're pulling trades, you think, does it come across your mind? Like, you know, we saw Mara in free agency with Saquon, and we saw, like, does that really, when you say, like, oh, it's important for the Lions fans to know that they're going all in, is that something that GMs think about, really?
I think the GMs tuck it away and they're mostly focused on what they need to be focused on. But when they start talking and have a broader stroke with this, with their president and their owner, I think it's important for them to recognize it. Back in the day, it wasn't recognized in the same way. You would blow it off. It's not the way it is in today's world. You must be mindful of what your owner's, wants are and what the fan base wants are. I think to a certain level there, Kay, you can't let it override your decisions. You need to be somewhat myopic, but you need to be mindful. You need to have an awareness about you as a team builder. And I think it's important. And again, you start looking at these trades and these acquisitions, you list the things that are the most important, and then you have a little bit of that side box, right? And you're like, okay, and oh, by the way, X, Y, and Z is also important here. That's another feather in the cap on the move.
The Steelers organizationally, perennially, always blue chip, right? You know they're going to be there. You know they're going to win. They have the culture top to bottom, similarly to the Eagles, just in a different conference. And the Steelers, they look good. They look like they can contend. Crazy. They had no quarterback. Then they had 2. Then you don't have 1. Then you have 1. And it's Russell Wilson right now. They make these 2 adds. Wide receiver Mike Williams from the Jets. A nice big body. Skill set really matches the quarterback. Showing faith in Russell Wilson, I think that move. Pass rusher Preston Smith from the Packers. I'm looking. Are we buying them? What do these moves say about how they feel about themselves?
No, I think we're buying them for sure. I mean, from the start of the season, I love the way that Mike Tomlin was putting things together. He and Omar Khan worked together really diligently as far as being mindful. Very smart group. Again, we're going to put together the pieces in the right way. They're not flashy with it. I mean, Mike Williams, bigger body. They know what Pickens is. You want to talk about a contested catcher. Like, he's unbelievable. Add another guy like Mike Williams in there that can also be a contested catcher and a big body. I think it's important for an offense and for a passing game that needs to be, continue to be ramped up. I think it was a good move as far as adding a defensive player there in Preston Smith. I mean, these are smart moves for them. This is why I think this organization will always be where they are, right? They are the way that they approach things. They're not flippant. They're not just grasping at straws, so to speak. They are deep down. It's led by the ownership, right? That's what we know there. I like what they're doing, and I think I like their chances going down the stretch here as well, Kay. I'm really impressed with what this organization is doing this year. And you got to give kudos. One more thing, and I know the Atlanta people don't want to give kudos to Arthur Smith. He does really good work in his spot there, and I like that he is a coordinator there for Mike Tomlin.
That's really well said. I mean, he's thriving down there. I'm looking even just at their odds, the 5th best odds right now to win the AFC at plus 1,600 for those of you who are interested in that kind of thing. The Cowboys, go. I don't even know. I don't have to ask. They made a move. I'm not juiced by it. Nobody is. What is going on there? What is going on there?
Yeah. That's an interesting thought. I think it was, we saw that Jerry Jones was talking about, we were going to bring in a receiver and why they brought in a receiver and why they brought, in fact, the guy in for a 4th round, right? That's legitimate for a guy who has not really produced that well, although he's young and they're looking for the upside on him. So I'm sure that's how they're looking at it. It was a little bit of one of those things that I don't see it being a move the needle situation, but I think it's showing the population, so to speak, that they are still being active. And I think Will McClay there, their main guy in personnel. Again, he's got a good evaluation eye. Everyone knows it in the league, so he's providing the right information to Jerry, and we'll see how it plays out.
I mean, he's young. Jerry is not. So we're the upside setting up. I mean, he's got to go all in and figure this out. It's a sort of wild and really disappointing sort of situation. I'm trying to think of who they have this week. Who do the Cowboys play? Oh, they've got the Eagles. Those 6-2
right.
Eagles coming down to Dallas to take care of business. So deadline day is behind us. I'm just curious, like I love when you say these things like, oh, we used to not trade so much. It's not like it used to not be this sexy trend. Now you've got these. What other trends are you seeing? Like we're obviously seeing this big trend of high-paid wide receivers, veterans moving teams, either, the DeAndre Hopkins, the Amar. Those are big price tags. Those are big pieces that are, now once somebody does it, everybody has to do it. Like the Steelers almost had to add Mike Williams because they're like, well, the Ravens added and the Chiefs added. We have to do it. What other sort of trends are you seeing? Because there's also a little bit less of a pass heaviness to start the season this year, too. Does that affect anything?
It's been on my mind when I start looking at this and looking at the receivers, and it is interesting, right? I will say it begs the question of how important are receivers after they've really contributed as they have? Are they easy to turn over? I'm not saying I think they're great. Look, we did Julio Jones, 100%. They are so important to the organization. Did they get to a point where there is a dime a dozen element where they can be replaced, even though they're still good? Is there a better value to bring in a younger guy? Whatever that may be, I find it interesting that people are looking to move receivers where we never used to move people. But I mean, back in the day, we moved Mohamed Sanu as a trade one time, and I thought about it. I loved Mohamed Sanu. It wasn't easy for us, but we were much more able to do something like that than there was if we were trying to move a pass rusher, for instance, or a corner. Why is that? I don't have the answers to it, but it is on my mind right now. It just feels like it's a little bit easier on the mindset to think we will find a replacement for a receiver where some of these other positions we won't. I don't mean to speak out of both sides of my mouth because I made a monumental trade for a receiver in my life.
Yes. Of course, a really big one. And gosh, anytime you bring up Mohamed Sanu, it makes me happy. Like he was one of my faves, great character guy, meant a lot to the locker room. A quarterback, played that in high school. Like I love everything about Mohamed Sanu. And of course, you have a lot of experience with trading these big named guys. But even when you were doing that, these rookies weren't looking like this. These receivers. True. Like these receivers now, they're making an impact on the team and contributing as rookies more than ever, which I think adds to it. There's so much talent in the draft.
Well, there's no question about that. And again, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that receivers aren't massively important. They are. They're so important to the development of your younger quarterbacks. You have to have the right people in the right places. When we look at trades, it doesn't matter if it's 15 years ago, 10 years ago, or even today. First thing you're going to look at in season trade is how much is this guy contributing to our offense or defense?
Yes.
What's our money situation? How is it going to affect? How is it affecting now? How will it affect in the future? And let's not get away from this. How is this guy personality-wise, character-wise? And I could get off on talking about this more and get deeper about it. The reality is you're not going to move a guy that is a pillar position within your organization if that person is 100% so important to the growth of your team. If it's a guy that's kind of, everyone's wearing out their welcome together. And sometimes that happens. Doesn't mean anyone's a bad person. Sometimes you look at that as GM, you look at that as player and agent of that GM. You're like, maybe it's best we part ways. So there are a lot of things that go into this decision. Not just we're going to move a guy because he didn't play well or because I didn't like the way that, he was talking in the locker room. It's a full circle idea. There's a lot into it.
And I do think, it's malleable. You can trade top guys. You can trade and still win. The Chiefs did it, right? So it's not against anything, but there is going to be an effect on the value, I think, just because you have these kids you're drafting now, and these 1,000-yard seasons are expected. It used to be you'd wait a year or 2 or 3 for a rookie receiver to really make an impact. Now it's, Keenan Allen did it forever ago, and it was like an anomaly, like, oh my gosh, what an amazing thing he did. And now it's sort of expected, and the talent coming out of college is different, which is only going to affect the market as we go on here. That's just my thoughts.